Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Mitch. About a week ago I received a telescope from Ontario Telescope from Steve Melia, and I wanted to basically just do a little go around of the telescope. So first, it comes in a nice hard shell case, as you can see here. It's always nice to have a telescope in a case to protect it from the environment if you're on the road or if it's go-to grab and go. So it's a really nice case, foam padded. It came, there was a flattener in here. You'll have to talk to Steve whether the flattener is included or not, but I was sent one to try out. So this is the case. The telescope's already out. I'll show you that in a minute. Nice. All right. So here we are over here. So so this is the 90 millimeter F5.5 500 millimeter focal length. I'm going to turn the telescope towards the front here for a minute so you can see the front lens. It's Starfield. And so we have a, put that back here. So ED APO F5.5 90 millimeter diameter and 500 millimeter focal length. So it's got a pretty nice field. It's about, the image scale that I was testing was about 1.2. So that makes it pretty good as far as the field of view is really, really nice. Depending on which camera you use, you'll be able to get quite a few objects on wide field nebulas. So also he included a Starfield 50 millimeter guider. And I'm going to be testing that also. And I've kind of had to, I made some adjustments. I had to make some adjustments in the balancing of the whole scope because the lens is, it's just heavy. It's just heavy. It's really good quality, I suppose, because I had to really push the scope, forward because most of the gear here, my camera, and I tried we'll be trying different cameras. I did try a few cameras, everything. And if you have to rack out to get the proper focus, I found that the back end was so heavy, I had to push everything forward. And I was running out of dovetail bar, at least for my setup. So I just changed the bar. I just added another bar, a little longer, so that I could move everything forward. So that turned out really, really good. Another thing about this telescope that I noticed was the clamping device is really heavy, as in heavy duty. It's really thick. It's well anodized. The paint is amazing, and the paint on the telescope is really amazing. It's very, very butter smooth, very silky. It looks really professional, and this is really nice. It tightens down really, really nice. It also comes with a handle. The handle's not installed, but I put it on. You can put it either forward or back, and the reason I wanted it there is because when I grab the scope and I want to pull it off, I don't want to be grabbing the bottom of the tube. So if I'm over here and I'm loosening the scope, and I can just grab it and just slide it forward or slide it back. That's pretty good. Tighten that up. Now, as far as balancing, it's like I said. Once I was able to find, the fulcrum, the pivot point, it was pretty easy to balance. I'm just going to take the cap off because that adds another. It is pretty easy to balance. I'm just going to do it again. I think I might be caught here in the little cables. If not, okay. So.
Do you have to?
I had to refocus about 20 minutes ago, and so I had to pull this out. So what happens when you push weight backward? You have to move forward. So let's do that right now. In fact, here for a video, let's show it. I'm gonna lock the axis down. The back's too heavy, so I'm just gonna grab the whole thing and just pull forward a little bit. Here we go. Let's try that. Oh, by the way, never forget to unlock your clutches, or you'll be hard on your gears. Let's have a look. So what do we got? That's it. And I had to use a pretty heavy counterweight. This is a 17 pound because the Optron comes with I think it's 11, and I found that the 11 I had to push all the way to the back. So this one, I like it's further up, and I like to have my counterweights closer to my right ascension gear. Not that it matters because it's actually balanced, but if everything can be closer together, I think there's less stress on everything. But it's really, really smooth. The telescope does balance out. This part here, I've been finding out that balancing on one side and not on the other, Sometimes it has to do with the way my cables having a little bit of a pull. Plus the fact that I put my guider more forward. Normally the guider's back here. But again, there was so much weight I would have to pull forward and I was running out of bar. So if we want a happy medium here, I suppose, looks like the nose is heavy, so I'll have to go back a bit more. Let's just go back a little bit more and see if that makes it happy. It doesn't really matter. But I'll tell you a little trick in a minute. Let's just give it a bit more. Go back a bit more. Try that. I'll tell you why. Balancing wise. Okay, if I'm west heavy, again, this is really pulling hard here. There, see, that's probably all it was. Now, of course, I don't shoot the ground, but my point is this: when I balance, guys, I'm always going to be east heavy. Like I want the telescope to go this way because technically I'm up here shooting. You know, there's M31, and now if I let go of it, it's going to fall again. I'm going to have to go forward some more because why? Because every time I go either west or east, I find I have to rebalance. See there, it's falling again, so I got to go forward. So let's do it just one last time. You should balance according to where you're shooting. I'm going to pull up a bit. This is not the video. The video is not about balancing. The video basically is about the telescope itself. But I want to show you, you know, if you're balancing, whatever you're going to do, make sure that you're balanced where you're shooting. And right now I'd be here shooting all night long. Here's the other thing I like about this telescope. It's really short. I have another one, a really long refractor, and here's what happened. Let's say I'm here on the, I'm going to guess here, the elephant trunk. Let's say it's about there somewhere. I'm just going to, okay. So this is like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1, 2, 3. By 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the meridian here, and I'm going to hit the tripod. Normally, I hit it a lot sooner because the telescope is a lot longer. So, you know, you're gonna run out of room here eventually, but I'm past the meridian. That's okay. Now let's change target. Let's go to the Orion Nebula, which comes up right about here. Let's lock the deck, but leave the RA loose. So this is around 4 o'clock in the morning, 5, 6, 7, or if we back up, let's say this is around 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm on the meridian, even with the south. And of course I have a wall here, so I can't go past the wall. And I have a tree up there. I don't know if she can show you the tree or not, but if I'm pointing that way, you'll see that I can't go any further. So if we come back to the telescope for a moment, I can keep going 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and get an extra couple of hours. Because the telescope is so short, I got clearance. Thought I'd show you about it, you know, that about how nice it is to have a really nice, sharp, short refractor so you can get more time in. So I'm going to leave that at that for now. Nice little walk around. Oh, let's talk about a couple of other things that just comes to mind. It comes with the Vixen guider. It comes with the Vixen shoe, which you could put your guider scope in here. Again, it's going to add a lot of weight to the back and you're going to have to slide forward. But here's the nice thing I want to show you there. She's in the right position for showing her. Let's talk about this. Well, this is going to be the right angle. It's going to fall again because I'm balanced for the other side. I want to talk about this, so I guess she's going to have to come over here. Let's talk about, I want to talk to you about this here. I'll put my finger here. This focuser, this design, I've never seen before on so many telescopes I've owned and seen online. This block focuser is super smooth. Has no play in it at all, no backlash. It's got a huge rack and pinion brass bar here on the bottom. As you can see, it's just huge. And this tightening design, you know how you do your batten off mask and then your cross is right on the money on your batten off mask, and then you tighten those 2 screws in the bottom, all of a sudden your batten off mask is out and you're like, oh man, I gotta loosen it, refocus, retighten, and you're kind of frustrated, right? This locking mechanism here, if you can look at it, okay, this locking thing, once you tighten that down, once you've done your focus and it says lock, that's it. The rack and pinion, the gears, the locking mechanism, and the rotation of this knob doesn't pull back or go forward or push up. If I tighten this, that's it. And I did a few tests last week, and when I had the batten off mask and I tightened this, I didn't have to re-loosen it and back up, a hundredth of a turn. So very impressed with this entire focusing unit. It's just incredible. The other thing is, when I talked to Steve, we were trying to figure out how are we going to mount an autofocuser on here, because for all intents and purposes, this focuser has no holes like your standard GSO Crayford or the other rack and pinions. Like there's no screws here. There's just the holes for mounting the bar. So how do we do that? Well, in another video that I saw last year, I had seen somebody mount their Pegasus Astro stepper motor on the bar. So there's no contact with any of the focusing unit. You don't have to, modify this at all. As she'll show you here, this bolt, just this one single bolt, once I tightened it on the plate, it was just perfectly set. And let me tighten that because it's going to fall. And the motor, the coupler, you see there my finger, that silver coupler, I was able to adjust this back and forth and the motor up and down, so it just slid perfectly on. And they just tightened it up. I didn't have to go inside the holster. Everything's on the outside. And then I tested it in an SGP's Sequence Generator Pro for V-curve, and it worked absolutely incredible. So those who have a longer bar, longer dovetail, and they can mount their autofocusers on the exterior of that, you'll really enjoy the autofocusing on this. I know that you could do it with a mask and then run all night, but the temperature changes and there's always some shift. The distance could be even half a millimeter. 1 millimeter will throw your HFR out quite far, right? So you want to, if you can use the Pegasus, look how simple it was to mount. One bolt, no drilling, no touching the actual focuser. So it's like no modification needed if you want to mount this style of autofocuser, which you can probably get from Ontario Telescope. And also, I think ZW now makes the EAF. It also has the same basic style of bracket where you can adjust it. Can't see why that won't fit. But you'll need this bar, not this bar, but this type of bar. You see how long it is? It's like 12 inches instead of the shorter 8 or 10s. And I really enjoy. I'm glad. I'm actually happy that I had that extra bar to help to do that. Another thing you'll notice, and it's not part of anything. You guys probably won't have to do this, but I added 1/4 inch aluminum plates to raise the scope. Now, why would I want to raise the scope here away from the clamping device? And by the way, inside the clamping, there's beautiful velvet. So it's very soft on the tube. You can slide the tube back without that. It's got really nice velvet. So I had to raise here because when I tighten these knobs from the Ioptron original knobs, the knobs are short and they were hitting this constantly, no matter if I moved back or forth. And it just happened that the focus, the balancing point where I set the balance, those knobs were hitting this, so I couldn't even lock the knobs down. So I took a bunch of 2 older ones I had. They're much longer. In fact, if she just waits for 2 seconds, I'll show you why. And it's important. A lot of people have Celestrons, Ioptrons, Skywatchers. Look at the difference here. Okay, so if you're in here, and she can probably see that now, you're hitting this. I mean, you're hitting this because it just happens to be right where the lock. So I took those out, and this has nothing to do with the telescope, but it did have to do with my tripod. So guys, if this is helpful to you to have seen that, it's great. Another thing, one last thing. There's always something else. I was going to say one last thing. I just thought of 2 other things. All right, I'm going to have her come around here a bit. This knob, you know how you guys can loosen your focuser and rotate it? I can't do it right now because I'm locked in with the Pegasus. But normally if the Pegasus was not here, I could loosen that and rotate, get the proper rotation on my target. But mostly, guys, when you loosen this on other telescopes, and I've seen this, okay, everything falls. The camera droops. The focuser, the focal reducer, the flattener, everything droops. Now your stars are out of whack on the frame, right? This one here, when I loosened it the other day and I tried it, there was no play at all. I was able to loosen it, turn part way, and then retighten it. This is really nice. I like how their set screws have been adjusted, and there's a nice Teflon, might be Teflon, shim, so it's very smooth in rotation. Now let's look down here for a moment. Do you notice any screws here? You know how there's always 2 screws right here? And there's always a brass fitting inside there? And everybody hates turning those brass screws because the camera shifts down, it shifts up, and you never get the proper plane. The stars never line up properly on the chip because you're always drooping it. You're there's always some play here. This style of self-centering locking mechanism is just incredible, and it's really hard. Once you tighten that, it's really, really hard to pull the camera off or for the camera to fall. So don't be afraid to put your, I don't want to mention companies, but QHY, ZWO, ASI, Altair Astro with your filter wheel and your whatever you're going to use, and this will not pull off. Now, for the sake of it, let's loosen it, and I'll show. She can go over and zoom in and have a look, so she can see now. You'll be able to see the locking mechanism with a double Teflon. Is it too dark?
Mm-hmm.
Double Teflon with the brass in the center. I've never seen this, but yeah, you can see it pretty good there. So that's it, and this is the field flattener, by the way, again by Starfield. This entire system is by Starfield. This is Steve's new telescope systems that he's going to be bringing out soon as a combo for people that are starting out. So I think I've covered pretty well the whole telescope. The optics, 90 millimeter, 500 millimeter focal length. You'll get an image scale of about 1.2, depending if you're using the DSLR or the cameras that are running 2.4 microns to 3.8 microns, like the ASIs and the Altair Astros. Unbelievable focusing mechanism with a really soft locking screw on the bottom that just tightens up and doesn't shift your focal point. Great handle, love the handle, gotta have the handle. Otherwise it's awkward. For me, I don't like grabbing the scope from the bottom, but this, you can hold it, loosen it, pull it off, great. This locking system, self-centering, no more shifting the image to top. In fact, the entire focusing unit here, the focuser and the rack and pinion and the locking system and the it's just amazing. I don't know who designed it, but kudos to Ontario Telescope and Steve having designed this with his team and put this together. So in my next video, I'm going to make this is part one. In part two, I'm going to just do some stills and you'll see more close-ups. I got about 30 pictures. If this was too dark, or she can brighten it up. If she can't, I'll just show you some higher close-up pictures of the entire parts of the telescope. And then we're gonna, it's supposed to be clear tonight. I got the DSLR on. For those who, if this is going to be an entry-level telescope, has a nice refractor. A lot of people already have a DSLR, so let's try to shoot a target. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. The moon comes up later on, but if we can get a couple of hours in, and just I'll post it. I'll post the results of what the telescope is capable of. I will talk more about that later. Okay, that's it. That's the entire scope. Beautiful case comes with it. It's all here. I broke it down as much as I could for what I have. I barely used it yet, twice. And so we'll have more information on that coming later. So, hope that was helpful. Contact Steve at ontariotelescope.ca, I believe. He'll have a lot more information on that. It may already be on the website, but this is worth looking into if you don't have a lot of money, but you want a high quality refractor, fully multi-coated. It's APO ED, and it was quite heavy. I thought when you pick that up, you're like, okay, this is worth. It's not cheap. And I've had other telescopes that I bought from eBay, and they were 90 millimeters and 80 millimeters. They were just like plastic. This is well built. You can feel it, you can touch it, you can test it. I hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you guys later. All right, bye for now.